Good morning or good afternoon, whichever is appropriate. My wife and I are sitting here, and we are going to spend a few minutes talking with you about a subject area that at times can be pretty intense. It can be pretty sensitive, but in its way, we won't talk about something more important unless we were just talking about our individual character and our strength or weakness of it, because of course the decisions we make as individuals about the kind of people we're going to be have a huge impact on the quality of our personal relationships. But then we're going to talk about it in the context of what is certainly for us and for all of the really successful people I have seen, and happy people, the most important relationship in the world. And that's the loving relationship you have with that person who means more to you than any other person on the planet, like Cindy does to me, and I'm speaking for her now, and like I am for her. And so, we showed this picture at the end of the last one, which was overcoming pansiitis, which was one of my favorite subjects. Almost felt like doing that one again. But this is an important thing we're going to talk about. It's sacred at certainly at times, and it's something we have watched together, sometimes with a great deal of concern through the years, as we have watched people not do this well and watch the price that they pay because of it, and a price that extends far beyond their business or business success. But it's sure important to get it right. And let's talk about it from the, I've been traveling and giving a talk about the things that I see, and there are 8 attributes of, and I'm not giving that talk, but I'm referring to it, the 8 attributes that I have seen in all the industry giants. And that first attribute is just a constant commitment to striving to become a better person. But the second attribute was almost all these giants, almost without exception, I can only think of one out of about 50, that didn't have really, really excellent, even magnificent teamwork in the home like we have been blessed with. And so let's talk about it from a perspective of some questions to ponder. First, why is it important? And I'll answer that question in some very straightforward ways. 1, you'll be more effective in every area of life. 2, you'll be more successful. And of course, again, applying that to the business. Why are you more successful? Because of balance, because of 2 heads are better than 1, because of the additional strength that you'll have emotionally. Because it's business and the leadership business is taxing, because it's the people business and people go through stuff and we get criticized and leaders take heat and all of that kind of stuff. And to have strength and support in the home changes everything. And Cindy and I, as we were talking about this and we were working on this the last couple of days, she would talk about, how much does it mean, Rich, for you, how much has it meant through the years to know that if you felt like you had to do something, I was going to back you up and support you, or when you came home from a tough day or a tough week or had been a tough month, to have my support, have my belief, and think of all the people we've seen that didn't have that. And they had the talent, they had the intelligence, they had all these other capacities, they were good people, but they didn't have this teamwork in the home. And anyway, we'll talk more about this from a number of perspectives. Here's another reason it's important. You'll have more fun. See, look at this family over here. Look how much fun they're having. See, if they didn't have teamwork in the home, they wouldn't be that happy. It's just the way it is. That picture proves everything I'm telling you about. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. I once heard a church leader say the only place in the world really we experience a measure of heaven on earth is within the home. And now some of you, even as I said that, were saying to yourself, well, it's also one of the places on earth where you can experience some measure of the opposite and, hell on earth. But that's why we're talking about this. We want it to be more heavenly than the netherworld. And we want it to be something that's more upbeat. It's something hopefully we can get some people, some of you in this company to focus more on and understand its overwhelming importance. That you understand, too, that you need to bolster it as leaders in the business. Those of you in leadership in this company that are listening, you need to do everything you can to support the teamwork in the home, strengthen it, contribute to it, help others understand its relative importance. And now let's talk about another reason it's important, is you'll make more money. Yeah, the people that tend to have this kind of teamwork and support have a way of making more money for all the other reasons I've already emphasized. You're more effective, you're happier, you're more emotionally stable, you have more endurance, more capacity. And bottom line, which is the number one reason we're here on this earth, is to learn how to be happier. And you'll be happier with teamwork in the home. So think of those words, and we could add 10 or 20 or 50 more, but effective, successful, fun, more money, happier. These are really, really good reasons to pay attention to this, to give it the emphasis it's due. And so the next question becomes, how do we build it? I love that picture in the corner. We found that picture. It's kind of symbolic. They just finished their wedding, and they're on their way to the honeymoon. They get a flat tire. And she's not sitting in the car, or worse yet, he's not sitting in the car while she does it. That's a dirty tire, and it's a white dress, and there they are working together. Timing isn't always right for working together. Isn't always pretty. This is just the way it is. But they're both smiling and creating a memory here. And so, anyway, we like the picture. And so I got to ask you another question as opposed to how do we build it. First one to ask you, and it's a really important question. What's your attitude? And what do I mean by that is, what's your attitude about teamwork in the home? What's your attitude about your wife, your husband? What's your attitude about marriage? And the kind of thing that you're supposed to build. And these are the things, we'll talk some things about some of the enemies of this, and not in this slide, but in a slide that's upcoming. And as we talk about it, what is your attitude? I got to ask you this question. Is your relationship, this most important relationship, or should be, your top priority? Is your top priority something else? Is it watching football during football season? Is it playing golf? Is it doing something along those lines? Is it watching TV? And one of the ways you find out what your priority is by the time you give it. And if you're giving a lot of time to things other than strengthening that situation in the home, and I'm not talking from a holier than thou perspective here, guys. I mean, I've made these mistakes. I have to pay attention to this stuff on a regular basis. It's easy to slack off, to stop listening, some of these kinds of things. But a question, again, to ask you in relation to this one, is your spouse the most important person on your team? And this is a big deal. Now, for those of you that say aren't married, we're going to talk about some of this stuff and talk about different seasons. So don't tune out. And at the same time, if you aren't married, you need to be listening to this, because you've got to be asking your own teammates this question. You're going to have to build a large team of people who are going to be married and in these kinds of, in very powerful relationships in their lives. And are they going to be powerful positive, powerful negative? The difference in its result in your business will be phenomenal. And so this attitude about it being the top priority, about your spouse being the most important person on your team. Now, notice I'm not saying that the spouse is licensed or is coming down to the office, or anything like that. You are a family business, and this teamwork becomes top priority. And one of the things that Cindy points out to me, in terms of, I'll say they seem like they have a good relationship. A couple of times she said, well, I don't know if that's true. And she says, and she relates it to this. Go ahead. Is your goal to bring the best out of each other? That's an interesting reflection. The really good relationships bring the best out of each other. You know, and part of that is they emphasize the best in each other. They're not constantly focusing on each other's weaknesses. They're bringing out strengths. And it's a big goal. And so, you know, as we think about this, I'm going to have my wife, you know, have Cindy reflect on a couple of things on this, which is a big deal. Put it up. This is how my sweetie supports in positive ways. This is a big list. I could address this, but it seems appropriate to have her reflect on it.
Well, good morning to everybody, or good afternoon. It's great to be with you, and I'm excited about this subject and just excited about what we're doing. But, you know, it's been great and really, I have to say, easy to support Rich in positive ways, because I saw a light go on in Rich the minute he heard about this business opportunity. And I was all in, because that's what I wanted. I wanted him to be able to use his talents and abilities, and we were blessed 33 years ago to find something that we were excited about and that we could do together, that we saw could be such a positive in other people's lives. And so I just knew early, and I was really, really blessed also that I had mentors and leaders along with my own folks who really were positive and encouraging to each other in all that they did. And I just, you know, I've tried personally to do good positive affirmations. I could make a list a mile long or more of the things that I know that I see in Rich and what he does for our family and what he can do for others, you know, through all these years. It's just been incredible to watch, again, the positive effect that we have been able to be on other people in what we do, how we change lives as we sit across kitchen tables, or as we just go and introduce them to the opportunity. But I personally always know the number one thing that I can do each and every day is be sure that Rich knows how much I believe in him and how much I love him, and that I can be positive in our company and what we do and in our lives and raising our children. And so I just really try to do that, and I'm a work in progress. I'm always reading books and trying to look for other ways that I can be more encouraging and more positive, and it just makes everything better. So I'm excited.
You know, I have a couple of thoughts with this too, having been on the receiving end of all this magnificent support and help. But I want to emphasize one she just said. I have always felt Cindy's belief in me, belief in what we do, of course, from a spiritual perspective also. But talking about it, you know, more purely from a business standpoint, you know, she always felt so good about what we did for people that she felt good about me going out and doing it, knowing that I was doing something that probably for the families we were seeing was going to be their only real chance of getting it done or done right or done on a timely basis. You know, there just aren't a lot of people out there, you guys, doing what we do for people. I mean, that's why we just need another million people licensed to do this. But the reality is that I felt that support. Certainly you call it an intangible, but it had very tangible emotional feelings for me. It was so much easier for me to stay positive, you know, for me to be confident about the future because of her conviction, support, and all of that. She does do affirmations every day in the shower, you know, but at the same time, it may sound like little stuff or even what we might call traditional stuff nowadays. Remember, she kept me fed. She worried about that stuff, paid attention to those kinds of things. When I was running fast, she'd get my rear end out of bed when I was dragging it a little bit. I was kind of meandering in here to come do this thing, and she was following me up, said, it's just about 9, you know, you need to get in here. And all of that stuff. And I want to separate from that. I'm not talking about nagging. You know, it's just when you have that understanding of each other and you're side by side, you do remind each other of things and you do keep on it. You know, another way she helped me a ton coming up in the business with record keeping and paperwork, and she, I used to do the bills, and she took that off my back, those kind of details, and so I could focus more and more on recruiting and building people and field training and having that time. Yet there's stuff that has to be done and stuff that has to be mailed and AMAs that need to be followed up and numbers that need to get pulled. She still pulls numbers for me today on teams we work for. We were back in the home office together last week, and she met with Susan Davies, who was going through numbers and, on the stud teams we're working with, and that support, so she provided all that intel for me. And at the same time, she was also watching, the team and individuals, and she said, I think that one you need to talk to that one. I think, maybe you hurt that one's feelings, or, she did that just recently on a trip, and it's just, again, when I say two heads are better than one, two sets of eyes are better than one, and she's more sensitive to people's feelings than I am, and she brought all those strengths to support us in our business, and if you aren't trying to get that to happen in yours, I think you're probably making a mistake, because how much better can you be? How much stronger can you be? That age-old saying, behind every great man is a great woman, well, there are a bunch of versions of that, and that works just as much the other way. Cindy's held major leadership roles, in our church and stuff, and it's been my privilege to support her. We're in kind of that situation now, and I believe in my wife like she believes in me. And so these things of how you build that and emphasize, remember, what priority is it? What's your attitude about it? Is this person the most important person? Are you working to bring out the best in each other by emphasizing the best in each other? Are you trying to support each other in positive ways? If you are, you've got a chance to have a world-class life. And I know. Now, here's another one I want you to think about. I want you to dream together, and I want you to put an exclamation point behind it like I did there. Dream together. And I didn't put it, we put it. See, guys tend to say I more, and certainly Cindy tends to say we more. But anyway, let's talk about dreaming as a couple. It's interesting. I had a rep show me this. This is concentric circles, of course. What's this diagram called, Trevor? A Venn diagram. And he had gone to some workshop, in the company he was with, and they were talking about dreams, and it's interesting. I never forgot it. This guy showed it to me. Gosh, I had to be back in the early '81, and he talked about I have my dreams kind of that are special to me. There are things that I like more than Cindy does, which is natural because two different people, and then there are hers, the things that mean more to her, that they wouldn't be necessarily my first dreams. But because they're hers, I'm excited about them because, frankly, I get more energized because of how much I love her, about wanting her to have these things than I think about myself, but the fact of the matter is there's a bunch that we share. We both wanted a home kind of from a different perspective, her more from the children we were going to have and the children we did have and the family and kind of creating that center of expression because she is the heart of our home. But I wanted a place to host and entertain and be part of the business and not show off, but certainly to show that we were progressing in the business, that good things happen to you in this business, in this industry. And so we both got excited about this stuff. Now, the reason this is important to identify, especially what you share, is that dreams coming true is different than dreaming, right? Dreaming leads to dreams coming true, but there's a whole lot of work that's got to be stirred into that pot, and that means sacrifice, and it means price paying, and you got to know what you're fighting for. You got to. Those are the incentives, the emotional and sometimes physical incentives that you're working toward. And you've got your dreams driving you, and she has hers too. But together you have so many that you share, and it energizes you. And dreaming as a couple is a big deal.
That's right.
It is. You want to say something about that, baby?
No, it's just, we've always been dreamers from when we first got married and just imagined having a couch and paying off our bills and getting out of our mobile home. And then we moved on, and then we just kept visualizing things. I remember just sitting looking in a magazine and places in this country and around the world. Oh, maybe someday. And boy, we found the place that could help our dreams really come true.
We sure did. And you're right. I mean, it was fun. I mean, sometimes it was just thinking about going to a World Series game, or, this is guy stuff now, but when all you got is a beanbag chair your mom made you for college in your front room, and you have friends over and they're sitting in the beanbag chair and Cindy and I are sitting on the floor facing them. These were not classy moments. But they're memorable and they were motivational. So again, we have some more questions for you. What do you want? What do you want? If you haven't had this conversation, that you could, if you had a pen in your hand and you had that Venn diagram in front of you, what would you be writing in his and hers and in your shared area? It's so worth the effort. Cindy talks regularly how we are on our honeymoon, and she just told this story in church, and we wrote down 5 things that were dreams of ours. And one of them, we wanted to find a business that we could work in together and share. And it's pretty powerful thing to start dreaming about that. And so we recognized it when we saw it, and she stepped up to do it because that was a shared dream. Very cool. Part of this, what are your goals? And that's right. Trevor's just pointing out, I got ahead of myself. Go ahead and put it up. The honeymoon list, we call it. Those 5 things. It was about spirituality. It was about a home. It was about a business to share together. And these with getting out of debt was another, these things were the.
Wanted a great marriage, and we wanted a family.
Yeah, that's right. And those things written down shaped our lives. So what do you want? Do you know? If you as a couple were sitting in front of us right now, and we turn to the wife, let's say, and ask, what are your dreams? What are the things that are closest to your heart? Do you want the most from this life? Would you be able to answer that question for her? And vice versa, if I'm talking, right, the wife about the husband, would that be a question you could answer? If you can't answer it, or you're not pretty clear on what those things are, then you're not dreaming together. And you're losing all the power of this. It's like taking your car out on a race course and having 4 flat tires. I mean, you may have the horsepower under the hood, but you're not going to be moving the way you should. And this is what lifts you up. This is what inspires you. Some of you wondered, gosh, how do some of these people stay motivated? And I struggle so much with it. Well, one of the areas that is maybe you're not paying enough attention to is right here. One of the other things that's fun is to post your pictures and your goals. And by the way, we don't mean on Facebook. I can't believe the stuff people put on Facebook. And those of you that put dumb stuff on Facebook, I want you to know you're a knucklehead. And you need to stop being a knucklehead. The good news is knuckleheadedness can be cured just by a good decision on your part, showing some good judgment. But post, when I say that, put them up in your house. Post these goals. Everything from how many personal recruits you're going to have that month, what the team is going to, what you aspire for the team to do, what you're determined to help them do, and just don't make it material. Please have it run deeper than that. Sometimes it's a kind of life. Sometimes a picture of a couple walking along a beach. And that might be symbolic that you have a beach home, but it's also symbolic, most importantly, of the time you'll spend together. The communication time, renewing your love, renewing your passion for each other, all of these kinds of things that are such a big deal. The places you want to go, the things you want to do with your children if you have them, or maybe you put up children because you're dreaming about that time in your life too. But post these things. Put them up around you. Have them mean something to you. Let it drive you. It's a big deal. And as you achieve them, update them. You know, I mean, this is a big deal. You know, this is, go ahead, babe.
And don't forget, you know, I've watched a lot, and we did too. Really involve their kids with goals, like, yay, dad or mom, they're going to go take their license, and then after they pass it, then you have a sign on the door when they get home, or the next promotion, or a contest, you know. But you get your family involved, and it makes it that much more fun, and they're cheering you on, and they know why you're doing things, why everybody's sacrificing, because you're all working towards something. So there's so many ways you can have great teamwork towards your goals.
You're awesome. You want to get married again? You know, it's you know, I think about those times in our lives, or the couples that got good at that, and it always impresses the heck out of me. I'm always so proud of people when they do that, when they make a big deal out of things for each other like that, you know, and you know, I'm reminded of a moment where we were with our youngest, Brett, who's on a mission right now, and he had graduated from high school. And Brett wasn't big; he was like his dad that way. I didn't walk in any graduation, you know, and neither did he. But Cindy grabbed his hands, and I grabbed his other hand, and we jumped up and down, just the three of us, in the kitchen, going, "Brett graduated! Brett graduated! Brett graduated!" It was silly, but it was fun, and we all ended up laughing about it, and we created a great memory in just a few moments there. And shoot, I wish he was here right now so we could do it again. Anyway, so these things about sharing it, about supporting each other, about being excited for each other, are wonderfully powerful and influential in such a good way in our lives. And anyway, one thing to know is you get this going, and as we talk about this, seriously, the fun is just beginning. So do that. Take that Venn diagram and make sure you do that with your sweetheart, and share that experience, and let it motivate you and let it inspire you. All right, let's talk about another area that you know, that I think we all struggle with in one form or another. And that's our need to communicate with each other. Now, before you put up the other thing, you know, I have a theory, and it's, of course, as most theories, it's, even if it's generally right, it's not always right, you know, and part of that theory in our experience, and certainly we tend to draw on our own personal experiences, which may not be accurate for everybody else. I acknowledge all of that. But it seems to me that women are generally more willing to communicate, especially verbally, than most men are. I heard one person say it who worked in this field in marriage counseling, that, you know, women seem to be born with 50,000 words a day and men about 25,000. Then we use ours up talking at work, doing stuff during the day, and we get home and we don't want to talk anymore. You know, and that's a mistake. Now, one, we do need to communicate, but I found, and now I'm going to speak from more of the male perspective here and the husband perspective, that the thing I need to do, and it really demonstrates to my wife how much I love her, and if I'm not doing it, I'm kind of demonstrating that, and she kind of feels like maybe I'm not as loving as I should be, and that's this one. Listen, listen, listen. You know, I mean, the number one thing Cindy wants me to do, more than help her clean the house if the house needs cleaning, or pick up if it needs picking up, or any of that kind of stuff, and Cindy, you can probably address this more forcefully than I can, is she wants me to listen to her. And I know I end up with a much happier wife if I listen.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's her one kind. Do you have anything you want to add to that one?
No,
You say no, but then you say something.
No.
You mean yes.
It just has always meant a lot, because what Rich thinks, and I want his opinion on things, and I just need that time with him, and it just makes a world of difference to me. And it's hard to explain, but it's just, it's a big deal when my husband stops and just listens. We don't have to fix anything. He just listens.
Okay, I'm going to emphasize something here about listening. You know, when our wives are talking to us about this stuff, I can't even tell you how much they don't want us to fix the stuff they're talking about. I mean, and they're just specifically saying that light bulb's out, will you change it? You know, or something about some kind of other emotional thing. They want us to listen. They're kind of working it out in their own mind. And our thing is like, hey, this is what you got to do. Look, that's no problem. Just do this. That is not what they're looking for. You want to have a happier relationship? I appreciated one person. I was back at Andy Wynn's great event last week, and they had, 2,700 people there. And I was talking to a smaller group the next day, and one of the husbands, and they'd picked us up and give us a ride. They're wonderful people, and I won't identify them because, anyway, just it's okay. I think that's a little personal on something I'm sharing here. But as he was giving me another ride back to another hotel where I had to speak to another group, he said, you really helped me. He said, my wife and I just had a little bit of friction this morning, a little bit of an argument, as I realized as you were talking, I was trying to fix it, and she was just trying to talk to me. And I needed to shut up and listen, and things would have been better. You know, and by the way, ignore this advice at great risk, you know, to your personal happiness and to the quality of your marriage. So let's go through a couple of other things here about communicating. And Cindy has reflected on this, and her fingerprints are all over this. One, organize your time so you can talk. You know, I'll have another approach or something I'm going to emphasize about this here in a minute. When it comes to kind of your attitude about this, in terms of organizing your time, it's interesting because sometimes we think, well, I got more important things to do. And in reality, I got to ask you a question. Do you? Well, that would reflect that you have a different priority than, say, we do. And that's that our relationship and our marriage is a top priority. You know, and so this is a big deal. You're leaning forward.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, I know it's a new world with being able to text and things, but texting doesn't do the job all the way. It can help you if you ran out of milk and they need you to pick it up on the way home. But organize your time to spend some time to talk, because there's a lot going on in everybody's families, and you just have to be sure that you prioritize at some point. I mean, Rich and I had times where it was 1 o'clock in the morning and he was there for me. And I knew he had to get up the next day to be back doing hiring interviews and then out again that night. But there were just some things, maybe child-wise or business-wise or our folks or whatever it might be. But we just needed that time just to talk.
Yeah.
Or to listen.
Yeah, that's such a different perspective. You know, I won't go into any detail, but a guy wakes up his wife in the middle of the night for one reason, and the wife wakes you up in the middle of the night to want to talk. And I'm a sleeper. Once I go to sleep, I'm a sleeper. You know, and it's hilarious. Cindy, it's been at 3 in the morning. Goes, you awake? As she's shaking my shoulder. Are you awake? Yeah. No. Anyway, but it's talk time, and the reality is we can laugh about it because of what we built together, you know, and I'm talking about it in the happiness in our lives, not just our business. But sometimes Cindy's having trouble sleeping and she needs to talk a little bit. And by the way, this wasn't an overnight thing that I adjusted to. You know, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens. And it's a big deal. And so anyway, organize your time so you can talk. And I want to ask another question, and we want to ask another question. What is your plan? Finish it. You have to push it twice. Family and business success. What is your plan? You know, do you have one? Have you really thought it through? Have you together put some things in writing that you're going to prioritize for your family? Some ways you're going to emphasize how you're going to speak to each other, the way you're going to treat each other, the things you're shooting for, how your business success ties back to your family. You know, and something that Cindy reflects on and I've heard her, talk about this before, and something she's emphasized to me, and that's where she says it, let each other in.
And what I mean by that, I was just reflecting on different times where, like, I knew, like, Rich was like working towards, or we were working towards maybe a certain promotion, and maybe it just hadn't moved along as fast. And I could tell, he just had all this stuff inside, and I just work to try to get him to open up on, okay, so what is it, and what can I do to help? And these are the things I see, Rich, in you, and that I know we can accomplish this together. And I just wanted him to just talk about it. And same thing with me. He could always tell if there were, I was trying to handle too many things, and then he'd get me to open up, and then we would then...
Which wasn't very hard, quite frankly. It was like, how you feeling? And then that was it. For her, she'd say you had to use dynamite sometimes.
So in all areas, it's just kind of letting each other in on the things that maybe you're concerned about, or just that then you work closer when you open up with each other, and you feel that you're very connected on what you're really, really feeling about in your heart, and what you're trying to achieve, and what you're trying to do to work in, whether it's personal things, you want to be, kinder, you want to, gosh, that we have this great couple, and I want them to move further ahead. And Cindy, what can we do for them, or whatever it might be, or it's just an important thing. So just let each other in your life, and it will really bless you.
Yeah, it does. And I always felt better when she got me to talk about it. Early in our marriage, frankly, I didn't make Cindy cry a lot, but I made her cry once in a while. And sometimes she'd say to me, do I have to cry to get you to talk to me? And where you would just get so emotional about me not opening up, and so she would do that. And either she's gotten tougher or I've gotten better, or some combination of the two, because she doesn't cry as much as she used to. And I hope it's because I've gotten better on my end.
It is.
All right. Try and say that a little more with more sincerity. Okay, thank you. The next thing is we want to emphasize is EPR starts at home. I think most of you know that language we talk about, encouragement, praise, and recognition. It's a lifting language. It's a gracious thing, and and we need each other's encouragement, and we need each other's praise, and we need to recognize each other. That's a big deal. And I keep saying a big deal. I mean, that's the way I feel about all these things. What a priority it is. And Cindy's wonderful at this. She's kind of instinctive. I had to learn it, and I still have to think about it and get myself to do it a bunch of times. And I want to encourage you to speak EPR at home, to your wife, to your husband, to your children. Make it a better, happier place because of that. It just causes us to want to work together. I'm noticing in this picture right now, the woman is talking and the guy is listening. So that's a good symbolic thing. That was a good picture. And so you need to EPR everywhere you go, and really EPR in your business. But wow, I want you to do it at home first and foremost. And I was going to mention the attitude thing. I've told this story many times, but it was such an important moment for me. And I'd actually been in the business several years. Our marriage is great and all that stuff. But there was an area that I struggled with, and Cindy struggled in it with me because she struggled with me personally about it. I would come home, and now we had children, 2 at this point, and Alicia and Richard, and she would still be in the office, but more and more she was at home and taking them to school, and and the role as mother was increasing, and in time demands, and that was one of our dreams that we had put down, that she wouldn't have to work and we could work together. Bottom line, that we could control her work schedule not have others control it. And that way meant we can control our schedule to devote ourselves to our children. And I was coming home, and it was late, 10:30, 11, and I was tired. It had been a full day, a good day, but a full day. And all of a sudden, a thought occurred to me, and I'd had this thought a bunch of times already. Cindy's going to want to talk to me. She's going to want to, how's the day and what happened? And oh my gosh, I don't want to talk anymore. I've been talking all day, interviews and appointments and presentations, and wow. And I'm, just physically fatigued a little bit, emotionally a little bit fatigued. And I'm coming home, and how do I deal with this? She's still got, some talking to do and wants some feedback from me. And it was interesting. A thought occurred to me, and I was blessed by the thought. I believe it was in his moment of inspiration, from a higher source to help me become a better person and a better man and a better husband and a better father. And the thought occurred to me that if I had another appointment, and now that, it was, if I had another appointment at 11 p.m. that night, or another one coming up at midnight, I'd have been delighted somebody had wanted that I could have used that kind of late night as work time, productive time. I would have been thrilled. If I'd had somebody that was interested in listening to the opportunity at 11:30 at night, I'd have been all over it. If they, want a sales presentation, I'd have been all over it. And what occurred to me is that here's some person, maybe I wouldn't even know them, just some referral, some prospect, that in status in my life, way below my wife. And so this stranger, this person I maybe would have met once or hadn't even met yet, I'd be giving it everything I had. If I need an hour and a half of that presentation, I'd be upbeat and excited and selling them a dream and doing all this stuff. And they're almost a daggone stranger. And here I was coming home to my wife, the most important person on the earth to me. The one person above all that I love, on this earth that I would give my life for. And I wouldn't treat her as well as I'd treat somebody. I was just an appointment, just another appointment that may or may not doing, that may or may not buy. I'd be giving that everything I had, and I'm complaining to myself as I'm coming home that she's going to want to talk to me. And I changed my attitude. I stopped treating the door jam as a finish line. I knew that finish line was an hour and a half after I got home. And that made our lives together better. As I came home, how was your day, babe? What went on? Let me tell you what happened, and how these things were put together, and it was a big deal. And it was a very big deal. And I challenge you to think about that in the same context. All right. We'll get moving here. Let's talk about another critical area that you might not think would be on this list. Save money together. Nothing blows up teamwork faster than financial pressure, you guys. I mean, and one of the things, that I've seen in couples that aren't making it work is what we call the spender-saver dilemma. I don't know if I was a better saver or you were a better saver. Probably I was maybe a little bit more that way because I was poorer, and Cindy's folks were a little bit better off than ours, and so I had to be tighter with things. But she decided she'd get in that game totally with me too. Do you want to share any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. It was so much fun when we just thought about having money to save and to budget. And we got excited together and went, what can we do to save more? And this is what I could do. And then this is what Rich could do. And I could make our lunches instead of buying them, or, I wouldn't buy magazines or whatever the factor was.
It's
and we
true.
got excited.
All this was what we did.
Every week. And I monitored, all our business going in, and I knew how much was coming in. And then a check would come in. How much could we save? And it was just very, very exciting. We were really a teamwork together. And it was so fun.
And it's carried over to today. We have a financial assistant, and when our money comes in, it's deposited in our account. Cindy's all over it. Send in this much. Send in that much. Constantly. Here we are, all these years into it, financially independent, unbelievable cash flow, and we're all over saving every month.
And what was really good, and Rich is just so incredible in a million ways, but one strength, again, I'll say right here, is he really understood monitoring our budget, our money, what was happening. So that's why we could constantly have a clear picture of what we had, what our responsibilities were, our taxes, all those things. And it really helps as you're building a business and building your life to really be clear and together to be clear.
Cool. So you need to agree that saving is a priority. I mean, as a couple, you need to consider that, and I mean, I don't know, I know a few couples that agree that saving isn't a priority, the lifestyle's a priority, and that can work. I mean, and I understand having fun, but it's a risk. It's a real risk, because inevitably, and this is 33 years of business talking, you're going to have a downturn of something. Something's going to happen. If it was a team in California, it could be the big earthquake that disrupts your business for a couple of months. It could be all kinds of stuff. It could be some crazy time in the economy. And certainly we all can, we've all lived during times where in 2008, it was bad, but it was almost terrible. And so all kinds of stuff's out there that can kind of put at risk. When we started, our simple beginning was $11.59 a month. That was what started our savings habit that has changed our lives financially. And one of the things that I was a huge fan of was we would do a bar chart, kind of this early days, where we were trying to save, the example of saving $20,000, and I remember that first 6 months after I got licensed, we saved $30,000. This was in 1981. And that was so exhilarating. It made it fun to fill it in. Now, the only way this isn't my bar chart is my bar chart had very straight lines and very exact amounts, but think how cool it would be and how much it would help you all if you had something like this up and you were filling it in and you did stay excited about it and you were making it fun. And let me talk about one thing. Again, some of you heard me talk about this. What I call the cash millionaire feeling. Cindy and I will never forget the day when she came in with our money market statement, and we had a little office, 1,400 square feet, but we were doing some pretty good things out of it. And Cindy came in, and it had come in the mail, and she came in and opened it up, and she brought the statement. Cindy, you remember that?
Absolutely. I was jumping up and down. Yeah. I was so excited. And
we had $1 million in savings. And how cool was that? $1 million in savings. And it's like 1,017,000 or 1,019,000 or it's just we'd gone over. We were cash millionaires. And that was one of those goals. When we reset a goal, then it was to put $2 million away. But it was pretty exciting. And you should have the $25,000 feeling and the $50,000 feeling, the $100,000 feeling, and the $250,000 feeling. All as you go. I remember $500,000 felt pretty awesome. And these were things that
and as we did this,
big.
And we we were building big recruit numbers and sales and just all these things, it was this lesson that we knew was so important for our teammates. And as we watched them start, just like us, just the practice of saving small amounts. And as it got bigger, we watched the part-timers save, then the full-timers save. And it was great for us, but to watch those teammates start doing it and know the difference it was going to make in their future, it was exciting.
This is another example, my sweetheart, talking about the team. I'm thinking about us, and she's thinking about the team. And that's the capacity that this teamwork brings. As we go to the next slide, we want to acknowledge something, that there are seasons in our lives, right? The seasons of life. I love that picture. And let's just go and list these out. We start out maybe single, and then we're young marrieds, and then we're young marrieds with children, and then we're married with teenagers. and then we're back to 2, which is where Cindy and I are now. And then there are other circumstances in our life.
Grandparents.
Yeah, we're grandparents.
Awesome.
Is another circumstance. But also you could be a single mom, a single dad, carrying that burden, and you've got parents that are aging and children that are young, and you have all these kinds of seasons and pressures, and some of you are in significant relationships that you're working out, that you're going to find out if it's going to go into young married and young married with children, and so these seasons of life all need teamwork. If we're single, we need teamwork with leadership. Some of that emotional support has got to come from within the team, and it's not the same, but it's a ton better than nothing. And so all of these seasons, require teamwork, and teamwork bless all these seasons. And it doesn't need a lot of discussion, but we wanted to acknowledge that it's obvious that we go through these seasons, and you can kind of devote more. Cindy was able to be in the office more, when we were just young marrieds as opposed to when we had children, and 1 was different than 2, and 2 was different from 3, that's for sure. And then they got older, and the priority of her being at home was greater than the priority of her being at the business. She still was involved emotionally and staying aware of things, but we then had other assistants that helped with the process while we did the thing that was most important, which isn't the business, which was raise our family. And that was our perspective on it. And now we want to talk about something I'll call team busters. Is that an awesome picture? That is one effective mousetrap right there. That is 5 mice in one blow. Share victory, share defeat. And so we're going to talk about what will defeat you, and that'll bust up your team. That does not look like a happy family right there. So let's go ahead. The number 1 killer in this business in teamwork is selfishness. Number 1 killer in marriage is selfishness. Number 1 cause of divorce, selfishness. We got to be giving to be happy, and we got to be giving to have good teamwork and to have a great relationship. Within that same context, pride. When we're prideful, she can't tell me what to do, or he can't tell me what to do, or I know better than they do, and all this kind of stuff, and I made all these mistakes, you guys, far more than Cindy has, but pride's a killer. Another one, disloyalty. Well, you can't be talking your spouse down in front of other people. If you're going to mix it up a little bit, you got to take that behind closed doors. You've got to show your loyalty to your sweetheart, both directions. Ridicule has no place. Making fun has no place. Have I stumbled in this area? Yes. Do I stumble a lot anymore? No. And and Cindy has every right to remind me if I do. Really remind me. Like that's just one of the cardinal sins. Is that who are you going to be loyal to if you're not loyal to your sweetheart? You're not loyal to your family. Come on. And so selfishness, pride, disloyalty. We talked about financial stress. These are team busters. One of the other things is lack of understanding. It's so important to involve each other in this process. One of the coolest things Cindy did to help me early on that also blessed her with understanding is in the early days when I'd pick up policies and stuff and do an analysis, she would type it for me. And she'd see time after time how much better a job we were doing for people than what they currently had going on. And it helped make her a true believer, like we talked about.
And it helped me to just constantly be very supportive of the time it took to win in this business and the time it took with people, because I understood the difference it would make. And to this day, there's nothing like the opportunity we have for people in every way.
Yeah. And here's another thing that you might not think of, but we see people suffer from this, and that's indifference. It may not be something very forceful or super negative, but it's just one spouse just doesn't care, doesn't make the effort. Well, I think if you're feeling some indifference from your spouse, you've got to kind of take a look at your own playbook, and are you showing indifference to the things he or she's excited about? I think you got to show, equal enthusiasm for each other's stuff. And so indifference can work both ways. And then we have something is kind of a war cry of ours right now, and that we're going to make part of our management philosophy going forward, because we see much more of this than we used to in the past in our company. And I mean, we're looking for cooperation in our marriages, not in our relationships, not competition. This is not a happy marriage right here. This is not a happy friendship. It wouldn't be happy business partnership. You got to be celebrating each other's strengths, and being excited about those things. This is a big deal. If I could draw a circle through that now and a line through it, this is the opposite of what we're looking for. This marriage love would end up like that picture up above it, and where everybody's sharing defeat instead of sharing victory. That is such an awesome picture of those mice. Anyhow, let's talk a minute about practical stuff. And one we've already talked about. Let's put it up there. Show your partner how much we help people, but you may not already have done it. We may have talked about it, but you may not be doing it. How are they supposed to believe in something, be excited about something? They don't even know how much we help. Show them examples. Take the time. Work through a proposal. I mean, this is something that changes it. And Cindy's already made the comment about that. Something we've emphasized, we emphasize it again. Work together on your plan for success. And then something Cindy and I have done with each other, and she's helped others do, and so have I. But this is a real solution thing. Let's take a look at it. Take the time to educate your partner on the following things. The time commitment it's going to take. That understanding is going to be important to support. Knowing that sacrifice is a part of it. You can't be pretending it's not there, or else they're going to think you're a fool. And so here's another little thing. Doesn't sound like much, but educate your partner on the cost of licensing, on how we make money. I mean, if you want them dreaming with you, they got to understand there's money to be made in this business and how it's to be done. Now, this will cut both ways. I'm going to give you a warning. Once your partner's educated on this stuff, they're going to be on you. By the way, which is what will get you there. Goodness knows you don't have all the discipline you need. And that extra reminder in the home, that extra discipline being added to yours, the payoff on that is huge. And so all of this is educating your partner on why it's worth it to pay this price, to sacrifice the way it is. And that's, of course, why you needed to work on the number 2 bullet point there about your plan for success that would include your dreams and stuff that we talked about and gave a whole slide to. Here's another thing. Educate your partner on how you earn your promotions so they can encourage you and egg you on and challenge you and all that stuff. Cindy had reminded, and Cindy would put these in the list when we were working on this a couple of days ago. And take the time to educate your partner on contests. Cindy was aware of these things. She knew what I had to do. She kept encouraging me.
Yeah, it was great because I knew what it was and I knew what we needed to do. And, it just was fun to be on the team and what I could do to help us win these things. And that's why it's so important for you and for you to teach all your teammates to teach these things, because the partnership at home, the family, the spouse, they really together can help each person really achieve more.
Yes.
So go for it.
And again, single leaders, you've got to make sure that your teammates are doing this within their homes, right? It's cool. Now, if you're single, you might show this to your parents. You might show it to your best friend, and so that you have that kind of other strengthening aspect.
And as a leader, I know that when we had singles, I would always be sure to say, yes, you're getting there, you're doing it, and making a little phone call or leaving a note in their basket or on their windshield or whatever it was. But you're just a teammate for each other.
Cool. And while we've emphasized this already, we're gonna lift it out and have it be the last bullet point on this slide. Discuss the price you're willing to pay. Get thinking about it. Talk about it. All right. Otherwise you're going to have severe pansiitis set in, and like we talked about last month, and it'll hammer you. And then now, practical stuff part 2. We have another slide. As much as possible, attend meetings together. Cindy suggested this, and this had a real impact. We'd be in a meeting and someone would recommend a book, and Cindy would read it too. We both read Think and Grow Rich. We both read Power of Positive Thinking. We both read, How to Win Friends and Influence People. We both read these things, and we both continue to read and inspire each other. She'll go on the internet and watch YouTube videos of quality leaders giving great talks and people that have inspired us in the past.
Read good biographies of, winning teams that have done well and what they've done, and I take notes from those things. It just helps me to continue to grow and educate myself to be better.
Yes. And together, develop good personal relationships with your leaders. And then you go to the next one. And find a mentor, both of you. Frankly, like 2 of my mentors, I'm thinking of were 2 guys in the business in the 80s, both very successful. One was head of the company I was in the 80s. And I didn't mentor with him right off. I found one mentor, and then as I accelerated, became better and better, and my numbers became bigger and bigger. The founder of the company gave me more attention, and my other mentor wanted me to get into what he called the gravitational pull of the owner of the company, and knew that would be good for me too. And so I searched out mentorship to get coaching, but Cindy reached out to their spouses.
That's right.
And go ahead.
Oh, my first mentor always was my mother. She always gave me the greatest advice on how to be a great teammate in marriage and life. But from there, the women in the business that I watched and I would ask questions to, and I just learned so much. Their mentorship meant so much to me and helped me and continue to this day. There are some tapes I still listen to that are 25 years old when I think I need to sharpen myself a little bit more. And I love to, in books that I've read, the mentorship through that, to see what did those spouses do to help them achieve the things that they did and to be strong and have good, strong family relationships.
It's cool. Teamwork. And then, again, we've emphasized this one already. It all ties together. Involve your family. Let your children be a part of it too. And the big bottom line, the big, gigantic bottom line, believe in each other. Believe in each other, believe in each other, and believe in each other. And once again, providing the soft touch. Cindy just showed me a note and said, wish everybody happy Valentine's Day.
That's right.
Because I would have absolutely thought about that about tomorrow. And
tomorrow.
And it is, I knew it was tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I've got the cards. I hope you've been out there. I'd give you a little tip. Cindy and I's relationship is so matured. We now go look for cards together. She gets cards. We're staying there at Target, and she's getting them, and I'm getting them. And I don't know. It still means as much to us. And I don't look at hers, and she doesn't look at mine. But
using our time wisely.
Yeah, that's right. It's now time management. We go get our Valentine's and other anniversary cards together, and so it's hilarious. It's fun. We love you guys, and we sure appreciate all of you that have been on this call. It may not be necessarily, I don't know how you'd explain it. It's high profile. It's like how to become a multimillionaire, but so we're going to give you one of those next. But please take this to heart. Listen to it again, repeat it. And here's what the next webinar is going to be on next week. The capacity to win.
Next month.
Next month. Yeah, sorry, not next week. Thank you, baby. Next month. Forbes called that their $126 billion photograph. The people in that picture combined are worth $126 billion. Most of it Gates and Buffett, by the way, on the left, with Oprah in between with her couple of billion. Chump change. Anyway, they make contributions that big. And, but it's, I'd trade places with her. Anyway, but the point is, how do you go from, where we were in a mobile home when we got married to where you can become a world-class philanthropist among the most successful people in your community, maybe one day most successful people in America. How does that happen? Or Canada, or in North America? How does that happen? We're going to talk about those things. There's some capacities that you need to have, that you need to be aware of, that you need to be working on. And we're going to work on those things. And these people in this picture have these capacities. And our biggest leaders and the giants of the industry I'm aware of have these capacities. It's not a regurgitation of the 8 things that I talk about in relation to being a giant in the industry. That's very specific. This is how do you win and win big. Overall in life, win big in your business. I'm going to have fun showing it to you. In fact, I already have the notes done, and I'm excited to do it. So I will see you next second Wednesday of the month, which is March 13th, and we'll rock and roll in a great subject. All right, appreciate you all. Happy Valentine's Day again, and let's do a better job with teamwork in the home.
Have a great day.
Bye.